city and then ultimately to the last jump off to the U.S. border. Now, how does that relate to the left? Well, you see, the left, they're all on board with the whole open society agenda, which essentially means open borders. And so Trump coming into office, what is the first thing that he says he's going to do? He's going to close the border, and he's going to enforce a sensible immigration policy. Well, just an issue like that that's just one of many. That issue imperils their agenda, and part of their agenda in open borders is destabilization of a country like the United States, and to change overnight the social, political, and infrastructural nature of the United States. And yet here's Trump, who comes along and says, not only am I not a globalist, I'm an American patriot, and we're not going to have any more of this kind of nonsense. So you can imagine the kind of panic that is felt at a place like the World Economic Forum. Now, they're all trying to pretend like, whistling through the graveyard, like this is just perhaps a blip on their radar. But of course, it's a great deal more than that, and they know it.
Wow. Well, and withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord also. I mean, it's just huge.
Organization.
Huge stuff here. Well, listen, Larry, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We're definitely going to have to bring you back and discuss some of this some more as all of this unfolds. There's so much taking place. But Larry Taunton, Executive Director of Fixed Point Foundation, thank you so much for joining us on Washington Watch.
Absolutely. It's always good to see you guys. Thanks for having me. You guys take care and keep up the good work.
You too. All right, friends, much more coming your way on Washington Watch. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment.
Here's Dr. Al Mohler from the American Family Studios documentary, The God Who Speaks. If you believe that the Bible is inerrant, then you begin with the understanding that if there is a problem with our understanding of Scripture, the problem is in us, not in the text. If you start out with any other assumption about Scripture, then you're going to put yourself in a position where you're going to have to say, I believe this is where the Scripture is true. I believe this is where the Scripture is mixed with some error. I believe this is where the text is absolutely wrong. Inerrancy makes all the difference in the world. That's one of the hardest lessons evangelical Christians had to learn in the last half of the 20th century. It was a question as old as the Garden of Eden. With that question, hath God said? And that's where we're left today. If God has spoken, then he has given us an inerrant and infallible Scripture. If he hasn't spoken, we are in very big trouble. Visit thegodwhospeaks.org.
What we believe about the Bible is based on what we believe about its source. The God Who Speaks, the award-winning documentary from the American Family Association, is now available in a special limited edition DVD set. This release includes a Sunday school curriculum and 2 hours of additional footage. Go to thegodwhospeaks.org to get your copy today. thegodwhospeaks.org.
To sharpen the biblical worldview of Christians and to share the good news of Jesus Christ. That is the mission of the Christian Worldview radio program. I'm host David Wheaton, inviting you to join us this Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, as we discuss all matters of life and faith from a decidedly biblical perspective. The Christian Worldview, Saturday mornings at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, right here on American Family Radio.
A recent rise in gun violence in America at schools, theaters, and other public venues has raised the question of how to protect Americans. I'm not here to enter the gun debate except to say that the Bible pictures God as a protector of his people. When individuals and nations turn to him, walk in his ways, and seek his blessing and protection, he promises to be there. It has been many, many years since our nation publicly embraced Psalm 91, professing that God is our refuge and fortress. But nations are made of individuals, and as individuals seek God's protection, eventually so does the nation. This is David Jeremiah, encouraging you to get on the road to new life. Discover God's protection on Route 66.
Route 66, driving the word home. Log on to Route66Life.com. Start your journey home today.
co-host Jody Heiss sitting in today for Tony, who should be back in the saddle tomorrow. Before I go to my next guest, I want to again encourage you to get involved with moving important policies forward during this new Trump administration. And friends, we have a tool for you that's going to enable you to do just that. So I want to encourage you to get our first 100 days toolkit. Now, this toolkit is going to equip you with the tools you need to find out your members of Congress, to support key legislation, to get insights on nominees, how to pray effectively, and so much more. Friends, there's nothing else like this out there. And you have an opportunity right now to access the first 100 days toolkit. You can do so by simply texting the word toolkit. That's one word, TOOLKIT, toolkit, to 67742. I encourage you, get your toolkit and let's all be involved in helping this 100 days be all that it can be. All right. Yesterday, on his first day back in office, President Trump wasted no time. As you know by now, he signed a wave of executive orders aimed at fulfilling key campaign promises and at the same time reversing policies from the Biden administration. And earlier in the program, of course, we discussed some of the executive orders that he's already signed. And while we cannot in any way cover them all, we do want to highlight certain ones that address specific concerns that we have here at the Family Research Council. So joining me now to unpack some of them is Travis Weber. He's Vice President for Policy and Government Affairs here at FRC. Travis, thanks so much for joining me today on Washington Watch.
Jody, it's good to be with you.
All right, so we've got a batch of executive orders. It's quite in contrast, if you will, from the Biden administration, whose officials literally struggled to define what a man and a woman are, correct? I mean, we're going in a different direction right now.
No, Jody, we really are. President Trump has wasted no time in rolling out a number of executive actions starting yesterday, and I expect we'll see more in the days to come. These actions are focused on what we might expect, areas that he's highlighted a lot during the campaign: law and order, national security, the border, the economy. But, there's also an overriding sense of kind of resetting and realigning America to where she should be. I think many will feel that America's gotten off the rails in recent years. We've been a nation in decline as our leaders, including the Biden administration, have let us languished and have failed to effectively lead the nation where we should be going. And so, a lot of President Trump's actions are starting the process of resetting America on the course she should be. And that comes in the areas of economy, energy, resetting America first priorities at home, but also abroad. There's a couple executive orders that have been issued regarding international matters, foreign affairs, and one of those is making sure that we have an America First foreign policy, one that serves our interest and not the interest of diplomats or elite global circles to the detriment of the American people who do not know what is being discussed by those who are supposed to be representing them. One area is the World Health Organization. So President Trump has now issued an order saying that he intends to start the process of withdrawing from the World Health Organization, a process he started in his first term that Biden reversed, and now Trump's going to start once again. And so, this is an issue that is familiar to many. We were at the World Health Assembly in Geneva last May, where we were tracking the pandemic agreement, which is concerning from the perspective of sovereignty being eroded as global bodies, including the World Health Organization, aggregate power to themselves. So hopefully this will be a reset in this area of the World Health Organization and other UN entities, in addition to resets of other areas like foreign aid, foreign policy, which we'll see implemented in the days to come.
Yes, and I want to talk about some of those, but there's no doubt, Travis, FRC has been closely tracking the World Health Organization, particularly since COVID. And quite frankly, so many have contacted us and been in touch with us. It seems like the whole country is concerned about the World Health Organization. No doubt the U.S. has been propping it up in many ways for a long, long time. So as President Trump now comes in, beginning the process, as you describe, of resetting and really starting the process of withdrawing us from the World Health Organization, what impact would that have both on the United States and on the World Health Organization as a whole?
Yeah, well, the WHO put out a statement saying that they're disappointed in the president's decision. The U.S. is a massive funder of the WHO. Their own livelihood is on the line, but that should help them. That should help them see clearly that they need to pay attention to what the United States is, the U.S. perspective on the WHO and what it wants to do. This is part of the problem, Jody. We have these bodies like the WHO. They're designed for a purpose that no one would really argue with. We need to have nations have a mechanism to prevent diseases that cross borders. Okay, a lot of people will get that. But then it goes off the rails at some point. And under COVID, we saw where abuses by governments in the areas of freedom, for religious freedom, free speech, there were a lot of censorship, and individual rights were suppressed in many places globally. And instead of that being a topic that's discussed at the World Health Assembly, they're discussing what they could do to increase their power, increase their ability to exert control over policy response, which is going to be named in the name of safety, but it's control. And the discussions of rights and freedom and the violations of the WHO policies were implemented were not discussed at all. So, Jody, this is they need the people at the World Health Organization and bodies like that need to understand that they're accountable to those who are funding them, those who are granting them their authority. And in this case, it's nation states who've agreed to the WHO, who are part of the WHO, including the U.S. So Trump is going to withdraw, and certainly there are going to be discussions. Part of the WHO executive order says that the means or the ends to which the WHO, the goals of the WHO, in so many words, there are other ways we can accomplish what we are trying to do in the WHO. So this is going to be an important discussion. And it's going to be important for us to continue to have to watch what's happening, though, because we don't want the same violations, same sovereignty erosions to take place in another way.
Absolutely. You also mentioned a moment ago, if we can transition on the topic of foreign aid. There's no question President Trump has had his eye on the foreign aid that the Biden administration has been doling out. So what does the executive order on foreign aid do?
Yeah, so Jody, this just pauses foreign aid for a period of time until the whole system can be reformed. And I think this is really welcome because I just want to actually read from this order. I have it in front of me here. It says that U.S. foreign aid industry and bureaucracy are not aligned with American interests and in many cases antithetical to American values. World peace by promoting ideas in foreign countries inverse to harmonious and stable relations internal to those countries. And so this makes an important point. Certainly this language is getting at what we have been doing over the past number of years, promoting LGBT ideology and gender ideology, radical abortion positions, climate positions globally, including in places that are repelled by our insistence on pushing these policies on them, places like Africa and Eastern Europe, and places that we're also competing with China. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot by promoting these ideologies in these places. So certainly this language is getting at, guys, we need to stop this. Let's pause. Let's reassess. Is U.S. foreign aid serving American interest? And certainly with this 90-day pause in U.S. foreign aid, the executive order articulates, we hope to see, instead of bad policies, which we need to see a rollback, a de-woking of our foreign policy gets us back to neutral. In place of that, we want to see foreign used to promote values that serve our interest in being a beacon to the world, a shining city on a hill, promoting true human rights, freedom, religious freedom, and life and family flourishing everywhere it can see fit. So, Jody, that's my hope and prayer for what will happen under this executive order.
All right, so that's a great point. So it's both and. So in addition to President Trump having executive orders getting rid of some bad programs, some, in this case, bad foreign aid programs, there were also some good foreign aid programs that the Biden administration stopped, put a hold on, that probably President Trump should restore. Any comment on that?
Yeah, well, so we had in the last administration, there was a large effort to promote religious freedom globally, and this was so well received and so needed by those suffering persecution around the world for their faith, Christians and others. And the ministerial to advance religious freedom that was run in the State Department is an example of this. There were human rights efforts that expanded and displayed globally the founding ideals of America. You know, we're coming up on the 250th anniversary of American independence. And so, Jody, this is an opportunity to bring some of those out again, bring them into the light so that America may be a blessing both to its people at home, but to all people who desire freedom around the world.
Well, looking ahead, let me just put this. I actually had Congressman Josh Perkeen on with me a little bit earlier in the program, and he actually mentioned the Mexico City policy. So looking ahead, I mean, no doubt there's going to be a number of additional executive orders that are going to find their way to President Trump's desk. And one of those may be the Mexico City policy. So tell us about that. First of all, explain real quickly what the Mexico City policy is. And do you by any way maybe expect that to happen